All coincidences with real people are random. If they tell you that this is not the case, ignore them. Asgard, the shining city of the gods, had long been known for its might and grandeur, but in recent years, troubling omens had begun to appear within its walls. The sun over Asgard no longer shone as brightly as before. Its rays had become dull and cold. The inhabitants of Asgard began to notice that the air had grown heavy, as if saturated with something evil. Thor, the son of Odin, had long sensed these changes. He saw how his mighty hammer, Mjolnir, had grown heavier, and his strikes no longer resonated as loudly as they once did. An unease had settled in his heart. One night, as he stood on his palace balcony, gazing at the stars, Loki approached him. His brother, known for his pranks and schemes, was more somber than ever. "Do you feel it, brother?" Loki asked, staring at the night sky. "The power is leaving us. Asgard is doomed." Thor frowned, feeling fear creep into his soul, but he did not want to believe it. He was the god of thunder, the protector of the 9 realms. Nothing could break him. The next morning, Thor convened a council. Warriors and sages of Asgard gathered to discuss what was happening. They were troubled. Devastating storms were striking the lands, animals were behaving strangely, and the nights were growing longer. "Perhaps these are just temporary hardships," Odin said from his throne. "But we cannot ignore these omens. Thor, you must journey to Helheim to find the source of these events." Thor agreed. He knew that Helheim was a place of death and darkness, where Hela ruled. But if the source of the threat lay there, he had to find it. Loki offered to accompany his brother, but Thor refused. This was his battle, and he had to fight it alone. The journey to Helheim was long and perilous. Thor crossed the frozen wastes of Niflheim, where the cold was so severe it could freeze even the breath of gods. Finally, he reached the gates of Helheim, massive and black, as if carved from pure darkness. He knew that entering Helheim meant facing death itself, but there was no turning back. Thor pushed open the gates, which creaked horribly as they swung open. Inside, there was absolute darkness. Even the lightning he summoned to light his way could not penetrate this darkness. It was alive, swallowing any light, any hope. In the center of Helheim, on a throne made of bones, sat Hela. She looked at Thor with icy disdain. "What brings you here?" God of thunder, her voice was as cold as ice and cut through the air like a knife. Thor felt his heart tighten in terror, but he could not show his weakness. "Asgard is in danger." "I have come to find the answer," he said, trying to speak firmly. Hela laughed, but there was nothing human in her laughter. It was full of hatred and malice. "Asgard is doomed, Thor. The darkness has already consumed it, and you cannot stop it. Every step you take here only brings the end closer." But Thor did not believe her words. He raised his hammer, ready for battle. However, the moment he swung it, a wave of weakness surged through his body. Hela rose from her throne and easily stopped his strike. "Did you think you could defeat me?" she hissed, moving closer to him. "But you are just a puppet in the hands of fate, Thor. I will show you what true suffering means." Hela did not kill Thor. Instead, she placed a curse upon him. His power began to leave him, slowly and painfully. Every day he grew weaker, and his body more vulnerable. Mjolnir, which had always been a symbol of his strength, now served as a reminder of his impotence. The journey back to Asgard was long and torturous. Thor crossed through Niflheim, but this time the cold pierced him to the bone, and he could no longer resist it. When he finally returned to Asgard, he found the city shrouded in darkness. The people of Asgard, who had always revered him as a hero, now looked at him with pity and fear. Thor's strength continued to wane, and with it, the power of Asgard faded. Demons and dark entities began to infiltrate the city, destroying everything in their path. The warriors of Asgard fought to the last, but their efforts were in vain. They could not stop the impending disaster. Thor, feeling his helplessness, watched the downfall of his home. He saw the flames consume the majestic halls, saw his friends and comrades fall one by one. But he could do nothing to save them. His strength had left him, and with it, his will to live. Odin was the last to fall. Old and weakened, He could not withstand the darkness that engulfed Asgard. When the darkness finally reached Thor, he did not resist. He knew he had lost. His pride, his belief in his invincibility, had led to the fall of Asgard. The last thing he saw was the darkness fully consuming his home. In the moment his consciousness faded, Thor realized that he had become just another victim in the endless game of gods and monsters.